Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient. And, if you look in the background, I'm in a different background than I normally am because today I have no power at my house. And so fortunately, my mother's house is available. So that's where I am. And I'm really, really excited for this interview today because we have a very, very special guest. But in the meantime, I want to share with you some of the things that are going on, still making progress with my health. In fact, there was a major breakthrough this week. We have a 2-story house, and I always walk down the stairs backwards because of restrictions with my leg. And this week, I was able to, all week long, start walking normally down the stairs. So, for those people who have, disabilities and everything like that, that's a pretty big breakthrough. So I'm really happy with that, and really happy to share that. And my daughter was here this past weekend for her birthday, and we visited her in-laws, so that was just phenomenal. I absolutely love when my kids, who I love so dearly, come and see us. So it was really, really great. But at this time, I'd like to introduce a very special guest, Indira, who has been involved with cancer for a long time, and she's written a book. And what I'd like to do at this time is bring her on and have her introduce herself. And let's kick this off because there's going to be some great things that are going to be discussed. So Indira, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Mark. I'm just honored to be in this space with you. I know we randomly connected, but I have learned that in life there are no accidents. And in the short time that I have had the honor of being in your company, in the conversations we've had, as I've told you, I have felt strength and I have felt inspiration. So I want to start our engagement, our conversation with gratitude. So thank you so much for creating this space that you've created for so many and for including me in it. So I would say, to start introducing who I am a mother. When I started my cancer journey in 2007, my children were 5 and 3. And with God's grace, they are 20 and 18 today. I am an activist. I believe that people are good. And I believe that change to make the world more equal, more respectful, more capable is within our reach. I work in global development. I have the privilege of being a very indulged daughter. I have an amazing brother and sister-in-law. And in addition to my 2 children, I have 2 more, my niece and nephew. At the core, I'm a warrior for doing better, trying harder, and knowing that anything is possible.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for introducing yourself. And what I look for on this channel are people with inspiring stories, because that's how we all learn, and there's a lot to be inspired with here. And so if you could share with us the beginning of your cancer journey and what kind of cancer that you had, and how did you react to your diagnosis?
So it started, I would say, the way that was unusual for breast cancer. I didn't have a sense that we were dealing with breast cancer in sort of the fall of 2006, and I related to your story about the monumental task of climbing or coming down from steps. I had such significant pain. It took everything I had to lift my leg to climb a step. And I was 37, I think, 37, somewhere around there, if I could do my math. But I remember specifically this one evening, I'd gotten in on a last appointment for a doctor, because who has time for one's own health, right? The children were young, the job was active, there were so many things going on, and I kept thinking tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And I realized I wasn't really walking well at all. And going into this doctor's office, he couldn't figure it out. He said, okay, go to an orthopedic, started the process of getting an MRI. Yes, there's a herniated disc. And, we're dealing with painkillers. Life is going on. You're managing the pain. You have an explanation for the pain. And the pain doesn't go away, as you know, with cancer. It peaks sometimes, and then it gets to this plateau. And I could manage the plateau. So I kept pushing. And then it was February, and I missed my period. And then my breasts started feeling heavy. And I was like, okay, I have 2 children. Under no circumstances do I want to be pregnant. The marriage was challenged. And I'm in that mindset for a period of a month or so. I wasn't pregnant. And then I started this pain from the tip of my right nipple straight through to my chest wall. It was a rod of pain. It was pulsating. It was live, and it was constant. And I am doing everything in my power not to feel it in my body right now. So allow me to release it. And that's when I got worried. And I went to my OBGYN, who knew my father had cancer. She was always the best kind of doctor one could hope for. And I saw her on a Wednesday, April 11, 2007, at 5:00. And she said to me, "You're going for a mammogram this week." And you sort of know, don't you? I mean, you sort of know. And so I just asked her, and she didn't deny or accept. She wasn't going to play probabilities. The mammogram happened. There were 2 clusters of calcification, which the radiologist pointed out to me, said, 80-20, sat in the car, and okay, it is going to be what it's going to be. And I started this process of accepting what I wouldn't be able to control. And I sat in quiet in my car outside the clinic. And, in that stillness of that silence where there's no thought and there's no emotion, and everything is working. I called my family. and started the process of preparing. It took a little while. It took till the end of May to have confirmation that the pain in my hips, my back, was coming from the breast cancer that had spread to my bones. And the PET scan that they did, the first PET scan that they did, lit up from the base of my skull to the mid-thigh, which covered the region. And, you know, I'm going to go to two sides of the story now. One is that weekend after the mammogram, whether I knew or not, I knew that I had to get ready for it. And in a lot of ways, I processed with my then ex-husband, with my then husband, where my passwords were, who did the sump pump in the house, what I wanted for work. I couldn't talk about the children. I couldn't go there. But in a lot of ways, I got incredibly still and practical. The process of discovery is brutal. It's cruel. It's not finessed. It's not sophisticated. And you are at your most vulnerable, and you're seeking solutions that'll save your life without having the expertise or the knowledge of how to. And I have to say, I was incredibly fortunate because God creates your solutions or introduces you to people or circumstances that move you forward. And I had given into faith. I had given into the Spirit, and I had trusted that my life was going to change and not that it was going to end. Yeah, I'll just stop there.
I totally understand exactly where your mindset was at that point in time. And to me, the diagnosis is such a critical point, as we've talked about in the cancer journey, because the diagnosis is actually, the way I look at it, is actually the starting line of the journey. And in my particular case, you know, my oncologist was the line judge who has the starting gun, who you know, elected to set off the starting gun. And for me, that was the trigger to move forward and go and act. And you know, we've talked extensively about the diagnosis and you know, how different people take it in different ways. And what I'd like to do is I'd like you to share with everyone our conversation that we really connected with in our last conversation about the diagnosis and what went through our minds as far as our will to live, because that's is so important to a cancer journey. So if you could share that with everyone, and because it's absolutely profound.
Certainly. You know, we've said this to each other in the short time that we've been talking, that cancer is more a mental game than a physical game. And to me, it comes down to a fundamental decision. I was going to live. That was it. There was no question about it. There was no doubt about it. There was every part of my being wanted that. Let me be honest and say, it doesn't take away fear. It doesn't take away vulnerability. It doesn't take away despair. And I honor all those emotions because I recognize how small I am in the context of this decision. But that one decision that I will live is so powerful. It isn't even a decision I think I made intellectually. I will share a spiritual gift I received. That first day after being at Dr. Mazur's office, where she said at 5 o'clock or 5:30 on April 11, 2007, that I was going to go for a mammogram to check my right breast. I came out of her building. And, everybody's, that experience where you're alone in a world full of people. And it's a gorgeous sunny day and people are leaving work and there's hustle and bustle. And you're inside this space. And I'm stepping out from this dark lobby into the light. And I heard something. I heard, your life is going to change. I don't know whether I made that up. I don't know if somebody was having a random conversation. I just heard it. And to me, that was enough. I can accept change. Change didn't mean end. So I knew spiritually, whatever that message meant, that decision had already started fermenting in me, that my decision would be to live. And the reality of making that decision to live meant that I wasn't going to stay under my covers in a dark room. I wasn't only going to stay in my prayer room. It wasn't that I was going to find the magic bullet. My goal was I would get up every morning. I would thank God. I would get my kids ready for school. I would go to work. I would come back, take care of the nighttime routine. And I would end my day and say, I'm tired. Please be with me, God. It wasn't that there was any grandiose plan. I think that's what the beauty of the decision is, to live. It's just to put that one step in front of the other and accept the next breath.
Absolutely beautiful. And one of the things that we had discussed is, through all the years that you've been on your journey, it really touched me to hear you say that when we were talking about the will to live, how we connected and how unusual it is for people to have that sentiment to, no matter what happens, I'm going to be here.
Right. And there's motivation, right? I mean, my motivation was very clear. I hadn't decided. My motivation were my 5 and 3-year-old children. I mean, how was I going to walk away from that? What kind of mother, human being would I be if I didn't fight to protect my children and protect my children by just doing my job? My father and mother, there were 3 promises I sort of made to myself. I would raise my children. I would not die before my parents. I was not going to do that to them. And I also decided I'm not going to suffer. And I'm not going to be a burden. And I talk to God all the time. I've written a book about my experience, and in that book, I have called God my invisible friend. And I've had that invisible friend since I've had consciousness, since I was about 5. And so I have this incredible history with my invisible friend. And it's a very safe place for me to let go and know that I'm not alone.
Can you mentioned the book. Can you show us the book and share that with us and talk a little bit about your book and where can people find you and access the book?
Thank you, Mark. So I'll hold it up, and it's called Fast Forward to Hope, Choosing to Build the Power of Self.
I love that. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful cover. I mean,
thank you. Thank
that
you.
is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It's interesting because you don't go through this experience to sell a book. It's one of those scenarios where I have so much I want to tell my children. I have been given so much in terms of love and support and lessons and experiences. And no teenager, no young child, no young adult has time to sit down and listen to their parents' lessons. And every, and the idea was, is it a long letter? What do I do? Do I do a recording? What do I do? And I happened upon this opportunity to write this book. And this program is brilliant. It takes you from concept to a published book in 10 months. You own the book. So I wanted it not to be commercial. I wanted the book to have its own journey. I wanted to tell the truth. And I certainly wanted to share my lessons so they have a blueprint. But I also wanted to share how I got my will to live. When we talked, we remarked to each other, were we always this positive? And it is through challenge that you sharpen your own capacity to walk even with pain. It's looking at the challenge and not standing behind it. It's knowing this diagnosis is looming over your head and not having an answer and keeping on walking. And with every step, knowing you did that. And that gives you courage. And it's that raw truth that I'm sharing in terms of discovering cancer in my body and what it took to get it diagnosed and what it took to start the process of healing myself, even as I got diagnosed, and healing my spirit, preparing myself to live, to accepting that over time, I had something to give. And the second part of the book is really my love letter to humanity. It's my love letter to God. It's my thank you note to science. I am also very honest about saying science has been a double-edged sword. The Herceptin is keeping me alive 15 years and 2 months into the journey because I use my port effectively every 3 weeks to get the drug. There's gratitude that Herceptin exists. I also question whether profit rather than cure is the paradigm in the cancer ecosystem. And so this book has allowed me to find my own power in an odd sort of way. As I say, the middle part of the book speaks about science, humanity, and faith. And it's funny, the title of the book came right away because we have to get to hope. Because if we don't get to hope, we've lost. If we don't start with hope, if we don't own our hope, we don't know how to fight. You can fight the unseen because hope is not tangible, right? With that intangible but bright flame, you get your energy. So I got that I had to get to hope. And from that hope, or perhaps because of that decision to live, hope came. But I struggled when I had to choose the byline for the book. I wasn't getting it. It wasn't connecting. You know, I had all these, what happened, how I lived and learned to live, and why I had to go through it to learn what I did. But it was, the full circle wasn't happening for me. Till I realized that I'm a factor in the decision. That there is a power that we own as warriors in this, or in anything in life. And it is owning that power, it's building and accepting your own power. And when that came to me, I thought about how life is for the Roma people. I've always had an admiration for how they walk the hard terrain and they dance, and how they look up and keep moving, no matter the unknown. And so this image to me reflects the freedom to own your own power, to reach for it. And every day when I prayed, when I was in the thick of it, I would ask God for another day. And the light on the cover is that new day.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful. I am so thankful for every single day. I mean, let me ask you this. One thing when you were just speaking that came to my mind is, how has cancer changed you?
I'm free. I think, honestly, cancer allowed me to choose me. Cancer allowed me to fight for me and do it in a way that I learned over time. I was fighting for me. I was fighting to live for my children. I was fighting to live so I didn't hurt my parents. I was fighting because I didn't want to be a burden on somebody else. I was fighting because we needed the income. I had to live, I had to provide. I couldn't, you know, my friends and I had journeys we still had to do. But even as that made me connect deeply with people, and that was another opportunity, another gift, which I would have kept my head down and stayed possibly in a bad marriage because the status quo was working. It gave me opportunity to consciously make decisions. And it gave me the opportunity to get ahead of, or get far ahead of proving myself. I didn't have to. I had already understood that I'd made the decision to live and do my very best and serve. So the expectation of that others may have, or the expectations that one creates of oneself, and that becomes a falsehood within which you live, those shackles are gone. I am incredibly free. I speak from truth. I want to do what I do in terms of how I want to serve. If only I could figure out how I could get health insurance in a way that was less, giving me less tide. But yeah.
That's so, I just love listening to you because you're so thoughtful. Every word you say has tremendous thought behind it. And, you know, I am so touched and honored that, you know, we're speaking here on this interview because you have so many incredible things to share. And I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to share together.
Thank you so much.
So what I'd like to do at this time is kind of wrap things up. And do you have any final thoughts for this particular interview? And also I'd like you to share where people can get in touch with you.
Not to be scared of being vulnerable. Making that the brand. Accepting that fear is real, but make more room for hope. Be kind to yourself. We're very kind to other people. We're very kind to other people. We're not kind to ourselves. Forgive ourselves for what has happened, what we could and should. And my father would say this, and you're perfect. You are there's only one that is you, and there is nothing, it doesn't matter what the ravages are. You are complete and you are perfect. And I'm immensely grateful. I told you, Mark, when we've had now, this is our second conversation. It was a random LinkedIn connection. I have never been in a space where I know every word you're going to say because I've lived it, and vice versa. I had this incredible gift with my father as well, because he was an incredible warrior, and he lived his full and complete life in full agreement with God and fulfilled every ambition and every dream. And I just pray that the work that you're doing continues to provide that kind of support for people. And I'm with you in how we can serve. I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn as you can look for Fast Forward to Hope. It's on Amazon. I've just released the audiobook, which was a wonderful way for me to learn from what I had written, to hear it. But thank you. I'm grateful that this accidental meeting happened.
Probably one of the best ever, in my opinion.
Mutually.
I am so thankful for connecting with you, because we connect on such an amazing level because we've lived and it's not a theory, it's not something we conjured up, it's something that we actually have gone through and are going through, because cancer is an everyday thing, you know, no matter what. And you know, I always look at this. There is no vacation from cancer. You know, you can go to a different place, yes, and go on an actual vacation, but you have to do certain things, you know, for you in order to keep moving forward, and keep living well. And so I really, really appreciate your perspective, and it's just been so refreshing and to hear. And I do want to hear more, and we will definitely do this again. But
Thank you.
is there any other links or any other things that you want to share? Because we can do that now. If not, what we'll do is I'll put that in the description section so that people
Wonderful.
have a place to go.
Wonderful. I don't have the easiest last name, but my first name is Indira and my last name is Ahluwalia. But if you search for Fast Forward to Hope, I have a website and that'll show us how to connect.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Indira. I've enjoyed this more than words can describe, and I really appreciate you. And
Thank you. Mutually.
people are going to hear about you because we're friends for life, as far as I'm concerned.
I love it. And we've got a long, long, long road ahead of us, my friend.
Yes, we do. Yes,
A
we do.
healthy, long, and happy road ahead of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'd like to, at this time, wrap up this interview with Indira, and I am just so happy and honored that we've had this experience. And so what I would wish for everyone listening, and thank you so much for watching every week, and thank you for supporting To Be Your Own Hero, and appreciate your health, because your health is everything. And you know, and I say that, and I know Indira knows about that too. You know, we rely on our minds, you know, when our health isn't there, but health is just so critical. So don't, you know, pay attention to your health, take care of your body, take care of your mind as well, and appreciate every single day, every single hour, every single second. And as my friend Linda Sherman says, every single breath. Thank you so much. We will see you next time on To Be Your Own Hero, and take care and have a very blessed week.